Hi, I'm Joel Richardson. I'm here with Councillor Bill Legault. Bill, we're going to talk a little bit about the snow and specifically the snow removal. Now, you you took it upon yourself to physically remove a good deal of snow yourself, which but you know we can't have we're not a nation of John Henrys here.
Well, I like to think that maybe we are a nation of John Henrys to a point, but I don't know if you could say that I took it upon myself to physically remove a lot of snow. I did do some shoveling for some people. I have some people that I shovel for on an as-need basis as each winter comes along. That I just do it more as a favor, but I don't want to overqualify my generosity. As I was out there shoveling this year with the amount of snow that was out there, there were people that, not even knowing that I was a city councilor, they just saw a guy walking around with a shovel and asked me if I could help them with some shoveling, and I did. And I did get paid for some of that, so don't overqualify my generosity.
Well, I'm not really trying to.
No,
I'm going to lead into the subject, the subject is
I'm leading into it.
okay.
Yeah. So you can cut any part of this out you want. So yes, I did a lot of shoveling, and but you know it's not the job of a city councilor to go out and clear snow. I think we have to keep a few things in mind with the snowfall that we got beginning on January 28th. It was an exceptional amount of snow, as we all know by now. It came down very fast, and then it just continued. We got storm after storm after storm. I mean, as I was walking down here today, it was actually a little ocean effect snow drifting down on North Street as I walked downtown. So it hasn't even stopped yet. So it was an exceptional amount of snow. And were we ready for that amount of snow? I'm not an expert on that, but I would say that I think we were caught by surprise a little bit. But I don't think anybody really could have kept up with that volume of snow over the period of time that it fell. If we were to change anything with the snap of a finger, if I could just change something like that, I'd like to see us have more heavy equipment in the DPW designed to remove snow, and maybe some various different kinds of equipment. We don't have that right now. We have some heavy equipment. We have more than we did a few years ago, and I think it's something that we need to look at down the road is what do we need to buy, what can we afford to buy. You have to balance that with other public safety issues. We bought a brand new ladder truck fairly recently. Could have bought a couple of snow plows instead, but we chose to buy a ladder truck. That aside, yes, I think we could use a little more heavy equipment. And I think maybe we need to get some contractors that have a little more heavy equipment out there also. When you get these bigger storms, the pickup trucks just don't cut it. If you want to look at that strictly from a budgetary standpoint, that's budgeting that can be planned. You generally under budget a snow removal because you can take money out of it to pay for snow removal, but and anything that's left can be carried over.
Okay,
you can always add money to the budget on an ad hoc basis when you need it. So you don't want to carry the money over from this year to next year if you don't have to.
So you're not anticipating beefing up the budget in anticipation of next year?
No, you don't beef up. I don't anticipate the mayor would be beefing up the snow budget. That just doesn't make any sense because you can always put money into the snow budget as you need it. Basically, the snow budget is based on average snowfalls in previous years. You just kind of look at what you spent the past 3 or 4 years, and you average it out. Some years you end up with money left over in the budget, which you can't pull out. It has to carry over into next year's budget. In other years, you have to put money into the budget because you got more snow than anticipated.
You anticipate expecting more snow next year, or what do you expect for next year?
For snow, I'll leave that to the weatherman and Mother Nature. It seems to me that we're getting bigger storms more frequently than we used to. I've been told by people that supposedly know that that's not true, but that's my observation. I would say that our snow budget will be a little higher next year because, again, we do take the averages of previous years. And obviously this year's budget is going to be quite a bit over. We're probably well over $1 million, maybe getting close to $1.5 million by now. So that will up the snow budget for next year just because we use the averages. I would look at more, we need to be looking at what kind of equipment do we need to buy. how much money do we need to spend on equipment? We don't want to overspend on equipment that we're not going to use. So we have to make a decision, and what do we need for DPW equipment to deal with the storms in the future? Or do we need to do that through contractors? And those are questions for the Department of Public Services Director, John Tomas, and the mayor. And of course, the finance director, Sarah Stanton. And those are conversations that they'll be having with each other. And yes, they'll be having those discussions with the city council also.
So you're not anticipating major changes towards the city's preparation for snow next year?
Well, you have to define a major change. I would say if we're going to have a major change, it's going to be talking to the private contractors about contracting for more heavy equipment, larger trucks to really push the large volumes of snow. But there's a cost in that, and that could end up costing us if we have a winter that's not quite as heavy as anticipated. We had a pretty heavy February, and we don't even know what March is going to look like yet. So we'll talk to the director of the Department of Public Services. We'll talk to the mayor, and we'll talk to them, especially John Tomas, who is the director of DPS, what kind of changes he thinks we need and why we need that. We have to ask questions. I'm not an expert on snow removal. We need to ask the people that are the experts.
Okay, how do you think it went this year?
How do I think it went this year? I think we got off to a slow start with a big storm, but we caught up fairly well after that. There were a lot of complaints, but to be honest, we get a lot of complaints on a lot of different issues all the time. But it's one of the things you do as a city councilor is you deal with people that are unhappy over one aspect or another of city government. I think that if I were to grade it, I'd give us a strong C as we got into the end, maybe a not quite as strong a C at the beginning, because I just think we were caught short by the fact that we had a big storm and we were anticipating being able to catch up with it, and we had other storms right behind it. So, you all right?
Okay, well, one of the things that we want to do is prepare for next year. We're going to be all right. You give us a C. I'm a little disappointed with a C.
Okay.
I like to think Salem is an up and coming community. I would want us to aim for a B next year.
Well, I mean, I would like to aim for an A next year, and my C is not necessarily fair, and the grades of other people are not necessarily fair. I've done a lot of things in my life for work, but I've never driven a snowplow. I don't really know how to move snow, and a lot of people, most people really don't know how to move snow. I think in order for us to move it up, we need to get more heavy equipment. And we may not need that heavy equipment if we don't have the bigger storms like we had. So yes, would I like to improve the performance? We always want to improve performance. And I want to make very, very clear, this is not a shot at any of our DPW guys. Those guys have been working long days, long nights. Some of them have been working, they can't work around the clock, but they're coming darn close. Some of these guys are working 16, 18 hours out of 24, maybe more. You have to remember that while we were getting all of this snow, we were getting our normal winter water main breaks also. 11 of them that we had to hire outside contractors to fix because our DPW guys were already busy doing other water break repairs and plowing and performing their other duties. So, and we didn't necessarily have any more water breaks than other communities either. Everybody has the same problem in the winter. But in conjunction with all of the water breaks that we had previously, obviously, we have a lot of issues there also.
All right, Bill. I can't think of any other further questions to ask about this. Is there anything you want to add about either this year's reaction to the snowplow or anticipation next year?
Can't anticipate next year because we don't know what the weather's going to be. I want to say to everybody out in Salem, we hear you. I know there are a lot of unhappy people out there for a lot of reasons. Unhappy with the initial response, unhappy with the snowbank removal, unhappy with the sight lines on the corners, especially down in some of the more narrow areas like Upper Essex Street, or I should say Lower Essex Street and Lower Derby Street. You've been heard. We're going to try to address it. We'll talk to DPW, or DPS I should say. We'll talk to the mayor's office. We'll talk to the state. And we have the budget hearings coming up in May and June, and I'm sure that snow removal will be a large part of that conversation.
All right, thanks, Bill, and thanks for the good job all around.
Joel, anytime, brother.